All right, what's up, guys? Welcome. We are live. All right, hey Instagram, hey YouTube, what's going on, guys? So I'm Johnathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. And today I'm going to be talking about how to get high without drugs, right? Who doesn't want to be high 24/7? But we'll get into this. So I want to talk about connecting with internal energy, the chi flowing in your body. So what happens, we have all of these energy channels in the body. If you've ever seen an acupuncturist chart, there's all these like rivers of energy flowing through the body. And this is what's animating our physical body, is this internal energy. And for some people, this may sound like, some woo-woo new age stuff, but this is we'll just say that modern science is behind the times on, this kind of work. And this is something that many ancient traditions have known for thousands of years. This is the basis of Chinese medicine, is energy flow in the body, right? And what happens is, as we go through life, we experience traumas, we experience intensities, right? We start to close our flow of life force in our body. We start to close the energy meridians. It's like life is too intense for us. We have to close ourselves down to the flow of it, right? And so we develop these blockages in our energy current. And this has negative implications on our health, on our energy levels, our ability to feel balanced, to feel alive, to feel juicy. How did you feel when you were 10 years old or a teenager compared to how you feel now? You know what I mean? What changed? Why don't you feel as excited, as juicy, as vital, and as you did when you were a child? It's because your energy flow has changed. You start to hold these tensions in your body. You start to get fixed in your belief systems, this rigidity, and this literally cuts the flow of energy in your body. And so this leads to rigidity, of course, leads to getting stuck in these fixed patterns. You just don't really have any passion for life anymore. You're just kind of getting into routines, and leads to aging and death, disease, right? So this leads people to, people want to change this. People want to feel good again. And the most common thing people turn to is drugs, right? Getting off work, having a beer or two, smoking that bowl of weed, whatever. We all have our vices, it's fine. But the thing is that a lot of these things have negative side effects. Any psychoactive substance burns up your energy, burns up your gene. Gene is your physical essence. It's what's creating your body. And when you take a psychoactive substance, you're burning this up to achieve that high. And sometimes it's worth it if you have like some insight. But if you're doing this every single day, you are literally tapping out your reserves, and you're relying on this external thing. You're giving away your power, and this external thing starts to control you. And so the key to this, so it's like, okay, how do we get ourselves feeling good naturally without having to take drugs? How do we get high naturally? And this is, what I'm getting at today. You need to learn to increase the flow of chi throughout your body, to open up the energy channels again, to get this life force flowing through you, so that you can start to get back into that state of heightened energy, of heightened clarity, heightened bliss, and excitement, passion for life that you had when you were a child, when you had in your teenage years. And so reconnecting to this flow of chi. So how do you do this, right? You need a practice that opens the energy channels of your body back up, and you directly work with the life force. And I'm gonna take you guys through a practice together. We'll play with some things, but I'll tell you what's worked the best for me. Internal energy practices, qigong, tai chi, where you are literally connecting directly with the life force. You're opening these channels back up. You're getting that current flowing through your body again. And it also changes your chemistry, changes your biochemistry. And so this is, for me personally, my daily practice. I'm practicing qigong, I'm doing breath work, I'm meditating. This gets me high. By doing these practices every day, I found that, I used to smoke weed every day. I used to drink alcohol on the weekends. And what I found was that by having these daily practices, all of a sudden I no longer had the desire to take these substances, because I started to feel great. naturally 24/7 from my practice because I had increased the energy flowing through my body and was able to tap into these altered states naturally. That's what happens when you do these internal practices. So I think that this is what the world really needs right now because we are, so many of us are completely attached to these external things. We're trying to, because we feel empty, we try to fill up with food, with, shallow. But when you're only reaching out to the external world to fill yourself up, you're still empty within. These things are not going to last. So it's a cycle of depletion. But when you learn to reconnect with that infinite life force that surrounds us, the chi field, it's always there. We learn to tap into that, reestablish your connection with that, then you reestablish that vitality, that insight, that inspiration, that just feeling good, feeling clear, feeling fluid 24/7. And you can use the practices to shift your state anytime you want to. All right, I want to show you guys a practice, right? So do this practice with me. This is a really simple breathing practice. It's called tumo breathing. So what you're going to do is place your hands on your belly, and we're going to do 9 intense breaths, right? So you exhale as you lean forward, in and out through the nose. Inhale as you come back up. So you exhale forward. Inhale as you come back up. You're going to do 9 of these breaths. I'm going to warn you beforehand, this could make you pass out. So make sure there's nothing around you're going to hit your head on. If you start to feel like dizzy, lightheaded, and place your hands down on the ground, lean over. Don't pass out, right? So be careful. So when we do the last breath, we're going to take a deep breath and hold it, filling up the lungs, and you're going to push out your belly. As you exhale you're going to press your lips together and exhale like you're blowing through a straw. So really like sustain that exhale, right? And make that exhale last as long as you can as you're pushing out the belly and exhaling, right? All right, let's do it. So 9 deep breaths. Last one, exhale out all your air. Hold it for a few seconds, and then as you're pushing out your belly, exhale through pressed lips. So you extend that exhale as long as you can. All right, and if you do that properly, you get this burst of chi in your belly. It radiates throughout your whole body, puts you in this altered state. So maybe you didn't get it the first time, it takes a little bit of practice. We'll do one more round. Apologies if my connection is a bit, it's been cutting out a bit today, so nothing I can do about that. Sorry about that. Hopefully you guys are still with me. So let's do one more round of that. So again, 9 intense breaths. Take a deep breath and hold it, and then do a really delayed exhale like you're blowing through a tiny straw as you push the belly out. All right, let's do it. 9 breaths. Deep breath. Fill up, pushing out the belly as you do that compressed exhale through the lips. All right, just smile within, just notice how you feel. What did that do for you? Do you feel a bit different? All right, how's everybody doing? Did you feel that? Did you do that with me? So that's a super simple breathing practice. It's called tumo breathing. It generates some heat in your belly center when you do it right, the Dan Tien, and eventually it circulates through your whole body. But it's a great practice to instantly shift your state. It takes a bit of practice to really get it, but when you get it right, it's like, bam, instant altered state. Really awesome practice. So work with that. Also, I recommend checking out my, on YouTube, I have a Qigong playlist. Those are fantastic practices to get you in the flow, connect with the life force, open up the flow chi in your body, and get yourself high naturally, right? So check that out. All right, I'm going to answer some questions. I see a lot of questions coming in, so Feel free to shoot some questions at me. Yeah, saying how the modern mainstream scientific community follows a strict dogma of materialist reductionism, atheism. It's like religion itself. Modern science is a religion. It's another religion. It's quite interesting. The Big Bang Theory is a religious theory. There's no solid evidence, no real proof of it, but it's just another religious theory. So science is just another religion, right? So it's easy to get fixed in these belief systems with it. Okay. Is just doing the microcosmic orbit enough for mastering non-leakage, full body orgasms, and preventing wet dreams? It depends. There's many factors to these things, especially attaining full body orgasms. You can be working with the microcosmic orbit, but maybe you have some distortions in your pelvic floor, like you have extremely tight pelvic floor muscles. So learning the is going unstable on YouTube. All right. Sorry about that, YouTube. So there's a lot involved in rewiring your ability to experience non-ejaculatory orgasms. So for some people, the microcosmic orbit will be enough. For some people, it's not. That's why I have, my 6-week course, I go into depth on many different practices, many different foundations to clear all the blockages that are preventing you from attaining full body orgasm, right? And as far as wet dreams, there's various causes to wet dreams. The microcosmic orbit is definitely helpful for preventing them, but just working with the orbit and specifically being able to bring your sexual energy through the orbit as well is helpful for preventing wet dreams. But there's other causes to wet dreams, like being too hot at night, just having really intense sexual desires, things like that. There's a lot of factors to it. But the microcosmic orbit is a very foundational and important practice that will help these things. 33 days of semen retention and have intense anger and frustration for the last week. So this is a sign your energy's stuck. This is often a sign of stagnant liver chi, right? Be careful. All right, here's the thing with semen retention. I've been really trying to push this, is that just building your energy with semen retention doesn't inherently help you, right? You have to do the work to keep this energy balanced. It's like you're just building up tremendous energy, and it's just going to make you more of who you already are. So if you have all these underlying issues, and if that sexual energy is feeding into those, right, or it's becoming stagnant in certain parts of your body, you're going to have problems. And it's not fun to do semen retention this way. Like you said, you're just experiencing anger and irritability. It's not really worth doing it when you're experiencing that. So that's why I stress a holistic approach to semen retention that includes internal practices. In fact, I think that internal practices are the foundation for doing semen retention, so that you can do it safely without, turning into a maniac, basically, right? So watch my YouTube video on semen retention and increased anger to learn more about this. What to do after edging more and more? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like, what do you mean what to do? Like, how do you finish the session or what? No, I'm not located in Asheville. I'm in Boise, Idaho right now. I was in Asheville last month, though, for a few weeks of a Taoist internal alchemy retreat. Okay, is there a way to send this live stream link to a friend outside of Instagram? It's on my YouTube channel, so you can go to my YouTube. I'm streaming there as well, and it will be this will be viewable. You'll be able to re-watch this live on my YouTube channel after I do it, so you can share it from there. How long did it take for me to master tantric sex? I would so as far as becoming, proficient in the methods, took me. I mean, it's all a process, right? Have I really mastered this stuff? You know what I mean? It's all a process. I have definitely gained some proficiency in these practices. So I would say overall, I mean, it depends what your definition of mastering tantric sex is, right? But as far as like being able to have non-ejaculatory sex and full body orgasms, it took, a few months of training for me to start experiencing these things, maybe 5-6 months. Of course, I was training alone, and I didn't really have a good system I was training. I was just kind of like learning from books and videos. It was when I started studying with teachers directly that I made the greatest practice. When you follow like a structured training, that's when you have the best results, right? Like a structured system of training. When you're just kind of like getting some information here and there, you'll make some progress, but it delays your progress a bit. But in general, it took me, I would say 5 or 6 months to like start getting these things. And of course, it's a constant refinement of my practice. I'm consistently trying new things, having breakthroughs. I'm practicing every day, so things are always changing. Can the benefits of Qigong help me align the lower chakras? Yeah, it'll help you align your whole system. That's why I love Qigong, is it's a very overall balancing system of cultivation, specifically working with the microcosmic orbit. There's often the tendency to obsess like, oh, this certain chakra and this chakra, but when you work with the microcosmic orbit, you're creating a unified chakra system because it works with all of them together. And really, they do all work together, so it's a more kind of holistic way versus like obsessing about, oh, this one chakra is really out of whack. So you work with them all together, cultivate them all together. First steps on letting go of desire for masturbation. First practices toward qi preservation. Well, first of all, I want to make it clear that I don't think masturbation is inherently a bad thing. We all have the desire to have sexual experience, whether that's by yourself or with a partner. It can be a great way to have an intimate connection with yourself. I've never said that masturbating is a problem. I think the problem, though, is excessive ejaculating. Excessive ejaculation. If your masturbation ends in ejaculating, then yes, that's a depleting pattern for you. So it's about changing your dynamic and your relationship to sex, to masturbation, whatever that is, right? Shifting that from a goal-oriented approach of like trying to release tension, trying to release sexual tension by releasing your sexual vitality, versus being able to open up the body and create a pathway to have that energy be expressed internally and reach a completion internally instead of releasing it from your body, which depletes you over time. So with that, the first steps I would say would be to start working with microcosmic orbit. Go to my YouTube channel, check out my Qigong playlist. Those will be some great practices to start with, to start developing this relationship with your internal Qi system. I'm overweight. Does that hamper these practices? Not necessarily. You'll still be able to do them, just as well as anybody else. Is yoga an internal alchemy practice? Because I do yoga daily, but I'm not interested in Qigong Tai Chi. There's so many different forms of yoga, but in general, the kind of more mainstream forms of yoga now, which is mostly asana practice, right? It's not really an internal practice. It's more of a physical, you're stretching your muscles, your tendons. It's great practice. It improves your health, improves your focus, it relieves stress, but it doesn't really develop a direct connection to work with qi in your body. I've been doing yoga for a decade. I love yoga. I do it every day, but it has its limitations as far as working with internal energy. I did not get the results I wanted with yoga as far as like working with internal energy. And that's what got me interested in Qigong. It took that to the next level for me. So, that's my experience with yoga. It's not that internal. There's a lot of tension and physicality about it. It's great practice, don't get me wrong, but it's not really going to give you a really deep, direct connection with your ability to work with qi flow in your body. Okay, in my opinion, what's more powerful, yoga, qigong, or tai chi? This is the thing is that it's really not the external form. I could say, oh, I'm doing yoga. One person can be doing a qigong move, a tai chi move, a yoga move with, again, complete physical emphasis, a lot of physical tension. And another person could be doing the exact same form, understanding the internal mechanics of how to actually activate the qi flow. And it's a completely different movement. That's the thing, is like these internal arts, they're called internal arts for a reason. It's internal. The movements, the formal postures, movements, sequences, they're really just training tools in the beginning to help you understand how to develop a connection with engaging your chi body, your energy. It's a very, very deep practice. So that's why I'm launching a new online academy and have step-by-step training to really go deep into energy cultivation. So that's going to be launching very soon. Can using crystals supercharge Qigong? I don't recommend you rely on things like that. You know what I mean? Sure, it can kind of augment certain, subtleties of your practice, but I think it's wise to develop, to not rely on anything external like a crystal, a substance, whatever. You want to have direct connection with life force using only your body, only what you have within you, right? So don't worry too much about these external things. You want to make it really internal. You don't need any of these external things like crystals or substances, whatever, once you really master the internal connection. Not that I'm saying working with crystals is bad. I'm just, you don't, again, my point is that you don't want to form this reliance on external objects and kind of worship them in a way. I seem to be getting less anxiety since I stopped masturbating. Is that normal? Yeah, it's totally normal. When you're constantly, frequently ejaculating, you're depleting your life force, you're depleting your energy, you're especially lowering your testosterone levels. And that leads to, you feel empty inside, and that leads to anxiety, fatigue, unhappiness. So yeah, it's totally normal. Surely stream retention can't be good for you in the long run. If you do it properly, it's very beneficial. When I talk about semen retention, I'm not saying you can never ever ejaculate ever. It's fine, it's not a big deal if you have an ejaculation here and there, and it may be a good idea to clear out your prostate every now and then, but obviously frequent ejaculation is not good. I choose to go for, durations of time without ejaculating, definitely. And it's a holistic lifestyle. That's the thing, is like, there's a difference between just suppressing your sexual energy, saying like, oh, I'm never ejaculating again, I'm gonna try not to think about sex. That's the suppression route. It doesn't work long-term for most people. But when instead it's a direction of that sexual impulse, that sexual energy, which is what I practice and teach, it's very sustainable. It amplifies all aspects of your life. It enhances your vitality, even your experience of sex. There's no suppression in that. So that is a very sustainable lifestyle. Okay, at what point does ejaculatory masturbation become excessive in my view? When it's part of your, when it's an outlet for you, when it's kind of a daily, when it's a routine thing for you. I don't believe ejaculation should be a routine for a man. I think that if you're going to ejaculate, it should be very intentional. There should be a reason that you're releasing energy from your body. You should have a purpose for doing so. If it's just to release stress or because you have the impulse to do so, then there's something deeper going on that you should probably address, right? So if you're ejaculating at a frequency that you feel fatigued and exhausted afterwards, then it's telling you that this is depleting your energy. Testicle breathing seems to get rid of my erection. Is this normal? Yes, this is very normal, because you're moving the sexual energy out of your genitals somewhere else in the body, and that will cause your erection to subside. So that's a sign that you're successfully moving that energy throughout your body. So that's great. You're doing the practice properly. That's the point of the practice, is it moves the sexual energy out of the genitals so you can put it to other use within the body. What can you do for erectile dysfunction given you already eat healthy and work out? There's a lot of different factors to a man's erection quality and strength. One of the most common factors that men need to pay attention to these days is dopamine levels. Looking at porn all the time, it wreaks havoc in your dopamine receptors, burns them out. And you need to have healthy healthy dopamine and dopamine receptors to experience erections, experience regular erections. So that is becoming one of the most common causes of erection troubles for men is dopamine overstimulation. So try to do it like a dopamine detox, they call it, where you're basically taking out the activities from your life that stimulate that excessive dopamine release. Pretty much everything technology related, social media, porn, obviously, video games, and that helps you get your dopamine receptors back in balance. Also, taking 5-HTP as a supplement and a choline supplement, which turns into acetylcholine in the body, which is the main neurotransmitter for the parasympathetic system. Also, working out your penis. Basically, it's like any other part of your body. You need to exercise your penis if you want it to be healthy. I teach various. I made a video on how to increase the quality of your erections, basically, right? So I made a video on that, and there's different exercises you can do to increase the blood flow into your penis, which will develop your veins, develop your blood vessels in your penis, and help you have healthier erections. Is there a resource for finding out about what herbs you need to take? Yeah, you can find an herbalist, someone who works with herbs. You can do your own research on the internet as well to see like what herbs do certain things to your body, because there's no single supplement that's good for everyone. So yeah, do your research on it and work with an herbalist as well, or like a Chinese medicine practitioner. Okay, do wet dreams reduce all semen retention benefits, and for how long? Because like 2 days after a wet dream, I'm feeling supercharged again. A wet dream is just an ejaculation. You're releasing fluid from your body. Sometimes there's less semen in that fluid. It's more like prostatic fluid. But in general, if you feel like you had an orgasm in your dream or in your sleep, and then it's a full-on ejaculation, so it may take you a couple of days to recover from that. What's my take on cannabis? I've had a relationship with cannabis many times in my life. I was smoking weed every day for like years, in my early 20s. And overall, my approach to these things, working with drugs, substances, right? The thing to understand is that they burn up some of your gene energy to fuel the high you're experiencing, right? So obviously, there's a lot of like medical benefits, things like that, to using cannabis. It can kill cancer cells, it relieves pain, all this stuff. But if you're just using it to get high and it's like part of your daily habit, then you're depleting your energy in the long run. For me, it caused a lot of brain fog, lack of motivation, things like that. So I think that if you're working with plants, mind-altering substances, then it should be it should be done with respect and understanding, and have the ability to sort of integrate your experience into your life. Again, if you're just doing it every day to get high, this is an imbalanced pattern. It's an addiction that is going to cause some issues for you in the long run. So if you really feel like you want to work with cannabis, whatever substance is, then once a week, something like that, right? So it's actually like has a space in your life, and then you have a space to integrate that experience. But if you're just doing it every day just to get high, then it's very likely an addiction pattern. You're giving your power away to something else. So that's my view on that, my experience with it. Wouldn't pure celibacy, practiced correctly, be more powerful than kareza or edging without ejaculation? The thing with celibacy is that let's say CCA practiced correctly. I think celibacy should only be practiced if it comes naturally. Like if naturally that desire rises, like, I just suddenly have no more desire for sex. I just want to, focus more on meditation, on doing other things with this energy. That's great. But if you're just suppressing the energy, if you're forcing yourself into celibacy, like a lot of monks, a lot of spiritual paths do, then you're suppressing your sexual energy. You are compressing it into a ball, and it's going to explode back out eventually. So I do not recommend that approach. Is it more powerful than dual cultivation, where you're cultivating with a partner? I don't necessarily think so. I think there's a lot of benefits to having sex with a partner, having sexual connection to a partner, because you create more energy with a partner with sexual cultivation than either of you can create by yourself. You create neutral force, you create yuan qi, and you can actually do that with deep internal alchemical practice as well, but most people never reach that level. So sexual connection is very beneficial. In what way does massaging your testicles benefit you? Massaging any area of your body is going to bring more circulation, bring more chi to that area. So your testicles are your root of your endocrine system. A lot of your vitality and energy is coming from your genitals, your endocrine glands. And so it's a great idea to massage them every day. It helps to keep your sexual energy from becoming too stagnant. If you're experiencing blue balls, things like that, testicle massage is something I recommend every man do every day. It also helps you produce more semen. Testicle massage makes the testicles produce more semen, basically. Okay, my recent post talked about erectile dysfunction. What about premature ejaculation and lasting longer? 1 second here. So premature ejaculation, the most common cause is too much tension in the pelvic floor. Notice when you're having sexual activity, whether you're masturbating or with a partner, do you clench your pelvic floor? Does your pelvic floor tighten in response to the stimulation? The nerves of the sympathetic nervous system attach into those pelvic floor muscles. So when you squeeze those muscles, you engage that sympathetic fight or flight response, which ejaculation is linked to. You'll find that by squeezing the pelvic floor muscles during sex or masturbation, the penis becomes much more sensitive and you feel the urge to ejaculate comes much quicker. This is the main cause of premature ejaculation for men. And this often goes into masturbation habits, trying to get to the point of ejaculation as fast as possible. You ingrain that pattern into yourself. So the main thing to work with in overcoming premature ejaculation is releasing those pelvic muscle, that pelvic floor tension, right? So reverse Kegels, deep breathing into there is very helpful for that. There's many other factors to this as well, but that's one of the most common. Also being able, the sexual kung fu techniques, the advanced techniques, you're drawing the arousal out of your genitals and dispersing it throughout the body, which helps you last for as long as you want. Will I ever do psychedelics again, or is spiritual practice all I need? Currently, I have no desire to take psychedelics, so I can't say what the future will bring. You know what I mean? 'Cause everything's always changing. But it's been years since I've had any psychedelics, and I feel like I've learned a lot of the lessons I need to learn from them. In my opinion, the plant teachers, the plant medicines, they're like stepping stones, right? You want to step onto it. It helps you get somewhere, right? You step onto the stone and then you're able to cross the river. But the problem is a lot of people get stuck in that stepping stone. They start to identify with that part of the journey and eventually need to get beyond that and understand that everything you need, you have within you. You can achieve these deeply altered states of insight and greater connection with internal practice. Okay, does masturbation while only sitting cause stagnation? It definitely can. For a lot of guys, masturbation is sitting on a chair in front of a computer, one hand on the mouse, the other hand jerking off, and that's their masturbation experience. So the energy gets stuck in the genitals. So if you're going to, sexual cultivation, I do recommend you move your body, move the energy around. It's like when you're with a partner, you're moving, your hips are thrusting, and that helps drive the energy up your spine and through the rest of your body. So, you can put that into self-cultivation as well. Okay, I have involuntary Kegels from years of masturbation. This led me to have premature ejaculation. Can learning how to direct my sexual energy allow me to last longer, even with my involuntary Kegels? Yes, it definitely can. the primary methods that most people are teaching are to squeeze your pelvic floor during sex and use that to move the energy throughout the body. And I used to do those techniques. They do work. I was able to squeeze my pelvic floor during sex and still last for hours by using those techniques. But in general, I find, so yeah, you can do that. But in general, I found that doing the work to release that pattern of excessive tension in the pelvic floor was just, it really, really helped me relax into the full body orgasm state, basically. And I got a lot out of it. And ejaculation control became very effortless. Okay, how often do I recommend for a man to ejaculate in his 20s? So depends. If you're doing sexual kung fu practices, you can go for long periods of time, because you're keeping the energy circulating. But if you're not really doing the internal practices and you want to ejaculate as much as you can without exhausting yourself, then for 20s, I would say once a week. Go once a week, go every 2 weeks, and that won't deplete you too much. But in general, if you ejaculate and you feel completely fatigued, you feel like wiped out the next day, then it means you should go for longer. Okay. So what about for women and masturbation and pornography use? How does it apply for women as well? So for women don't typically lose energy through orgasm the way men typically do, because men are discharging their fluid. They're discharging their gene by ejaculating. That's what drains the energy. It's not the act of sex itself or masturbation. It's that gene loss through ejaculating it out. Women don't really have that. Clitoral orgasms for women can be a bit more tiring, but still nowhere near as much as an ejaculation for men. Women lose gene, their physical essence through menstruation, through blood loss, right? So there's practices women can do to lessen the loss of their gene through their period, their menstrual cycle, right? So that's the sexual kung fu practice for women. So masturbation is not a problem for women. It's the menstruation fluid loss. But porn can have the same effects for women. More and more women are coming out saying they're addicted to porn because it has, that dopamine chemistry imbalance it causes in the brain. So porn addiction can be a problem for men or women. What's the easiest, the most effective way to get into meditation without dropping out after a few days? Well, you really just have to do it. You just have to go for it. It's a discipline. It's a training. You have to commit to it. You have to say, I'm going to do this. Some days it's going to be, you're going to have blissful, incredible experience in meditation. Some days you're going to just be like, your mind just going to be wandering. So it's a practice. It's a daily practice. You just have to say, I'm doing my meditation. Oh, I'm losing my Instagram feed. There we go. Instagram's back. Okay, how do you get into the psychedelic states with sexual kung fu or breath? I teach a breath practice in my 6-week course called Transformational Breathwork. It's a deep, intense breathwork practice, and it brings you into a psychedelic type of state very often. The first time I did this, I had like crazy, very psychedelic experience. It was like all these past memories, things coming through me, this deep expansiveness. My body was just like buzzing with energy. It's really incredible. And even Qigong practices can become quite psychedelic as well. In my opinion, what do I think happens after you die? Good question. I don't remember what it's like to die, so I can't really answer that. But uh, my theory is that it's similar to, you know, we dream every night. We kind of go through the death process every night. We surrender into the darkness. We surrender into the unknown when we sleep. And we're in these dream states that we know they're completely, there's no substance to them. Nothing's fixed with them. But when we're in that dream, it seems so real and we're completely identified with it. And then we wake up and we say, wow, that was just a dream and I'm actually just here. I think it's going to be a similar process after death. And of course, I've studied many esoteric traditions talking about, reincarnation, or some of the Taoist internal alchemists say that if you don't integrate your basically different aspects of yourself when you die, then you just become dispersed. You kind of just get recycled by the life force, right? So the notion of Taoist immortality, that's what a lot of the Taoist internal alchemy is striving for, is immortality. It's not physical immortality. Great longevity is a side effect of it, but they talk about spiritual immortality in that when you die, you stay integrated. You can keep creating, much like going into a lucid dream where you go into the dream state completely conscious. You remember who you are, and you stay conscious through that sort of death process we go through every night when we dream. That's the same idea as when you die. When you achieve immortality, you stay integrated and you're able to keep creating because your chi body has such integrity, because you've cultivated so much chi, you've done the practice to keep it integrated, that you're able to just float around the higher planes and keep creating, right? So, of course, these are all theories. Who really knows? There's I think it was Montauk Chia who said that, religion has a great business because, what does he say? I hope I can remember this. It's really funny. He's like, you pay something like, you pay, but it's the only business where you pay, but nobody knows if you actually got delivered. Kind of meaning is like, we really don't know what happens to people after they die, right? So there's this great mystery behind it, right? But I think death is a very interesting thing because it's something we're all going to experience. It's just as natural as life is death, right? And we can look at the world and see for a fact that a lot of us are very unprepared for the concept of death. The fear of death is one of the greatest fears most of us have, and it drives us to be controlled by others. We could look at the whole virus outbreak in the world. All this fear is a fear of death, right? But when you no longer fear death, when you accept that it's something that's inevitably going to happen, then you're not so likely to be controlled by others over this, right? So it's a bit of a tangent, but how long of a practice do you think it takes to see benefits of Qigong? You're going to see benefits pretty quickly. I mean, right away, you'll find yourself feeling calmer, a little more present, kind of energized. But if you work with it consistently, in the first week, you're going to see pretty significant changes in your life. And then when you get a month in, it's just going to be even deeper changes. Okay, am I vegan? What's my take on eggs, fish, and meat? So I get asked this. I feel like almost every time people ask me about diet. I'm not a vegan. I tried the vegan thing. I was vegetarian for 7 years. I went vegan for about 4 to 6 months, and it wasn't for me. Basically, I started to understand that my body was depleted. My sex drive dropped about 2 to 3 months into the vegan diet, and I was like, okay, something's seriously wrong here because this is very abnormal for me. And so the thing is that our bodies are all different. Our bodies are all unique. There's a tendency for people to be pushing like a one size fits all diet. Like, oh, this is the only diet that every person in the world should have. But I'm very skeptical about people who teach these things because we all have unique genetics. We all have unique ancestry. We have different abilities to assimilate different foods. You know what I mean? So not everyone's, for example, like the hemoglobin in your blood, some people are unable to properly absorb nutrients only from plants. So there's a lot of factors to it. That's why I encourage you to listen to your body. Your body's always talking to you. And when you do these internal practices, you become more sensitive to what foods will actually nourish you. So, yeah. How can I get high without drugs? Watch the replay of this. I was talking about that in the beginning here. I have embarrassing female domination fetish. I quit masturbation a month ago and will never do it again, but I still have the fetish. Well, I mean, you kind of look into that, like what's the underlying energetics of that desire you have to be dominated by women? You know, what's your relationship to your parents like? What's your relationship to your mother, your father like, right? Maybe you just need to have the experience of being dominated by a female. You know, maybe it's something you need, right? It's difficult for me to say what's driving this, but if you're really concerned about it, then, you know, do some internal practices, balance your energy, do some qigong and get your yin yang in balance, right? How does peeking at soft core images such as Instagram models and slightly edging to them affect your benefits, your streak? Well, it can throw off your dopamine levels. Like social media scrolling, just like looking at porn. I mean, porn's usually the most intense thing, but when you're like looking at model after model, you're getting hit after hit of dopamine in your brain. It can cause that same. This can also lead to erection troubles when you're with a real partner because it's just not as exciting as that, like image after image, the overstimulation of technology. You know, I read an interesting article recently saying that people basically are having less sex now, especially people from the ages of like 20 to 45 or something like that. They're having less sex than they used to, you know? And I think a lot of this is because I think there's various reasons to it. You know, people are more stressed out, more anxiety, people's health overall is becoming lowered. You know, there's a lot of factors working against us. So I don't really remember where I was going with that, but basically, I think it's a sign of showing that as a species, we're going into depletion, right? So reconnecting to nature, doing your internal practice, connecting to the chi field every day, cultivating your chi will improve your sexual vitality, you know? All right, thanks for the invitation to Brazil, brother. I've always wanted to go to Brazil. When doing a dopamine detox, should you go cold turkey or just gradually back at the beginning? I mean, it's up to you, but I feel like if you're going to do it, you might as well just like cut it out. Like for me, I go on a camping trip. That's for me, that's the easiest way to do a dopamine detox. It's like go somewhere where you have no Wi-Fi, you have no cell connection, and you're forced to, you know, not engage with it and reconnect with nature. You know, it's simple. Do females get the same benefit by holding on to their sexual energy? Okay, so I talked about this a little bit ago, but basically men, okay, so as men practice semen retention because they lose their gene, their physical essence through ejaculation, women lose it not through sex, but through menstruation, right? The loss of the blood, which is kind of a psychic cleansing of the body. So for women, there's practices to reduce menstruation, because for women, menstruation is it's kind of a psychic cleansing, you know, cleansing traumas, cleansing stress, negative emotions, but the body uses its own energy to clear these things. So when you have a practice where you're clearing these things on your own, it helps to make your menstrual cycle much less severe, so you lose much less energy through it. So for men, it's semen retention. For women, it's blood retention. All right, guys, I'm going to answer just a few more questions. How's dopamine affected if you look at porn but don't masturbate to it? It's exactly the same. You're still getting huge hits of dopamine in your brain. It can still cause erection troubles. So I don't recommend looking at porn. Do you think this pandemic will affect our sexual life? It doesn't have to if you don't let it. You know what I mean? Hasn't affected my sexual life. How to draw the gene out of your semen, any practices? That's what you're doing with testicle breathing. You're drawing the gene out of the semen, moving it through the body. I can't help you with hemorrhoids. I'm not a doctor. But do some research, look up natural remedies for hemorrhoids. Do you think girls that are kidnapped get straight into the porn industry for sex slaves? Well, there's a lot of human trafficking happening on this planet, and a lot of the elites of our, a lot of the rulers running this planet are behind the horrendous sex trafficking that's happening. And a lot of that's coming out. I think we're going to see a lot of truth coming out very soon about who's really behind the very disturbing dark practices that have been happening, behind the scenes for long periods of time. Since I was peaking and slightly edging, how can I recover since the images keep popping in my head and my dick is really sensitive and I messed up my dopamine levels? Just stop looking at the images, stop masturbating to them, and do some qigong. Go through my qigong playlist. That'll get you back in balance. Can excessive masturbation cause low back pain, kidney related? Yes. When you ejaculate, you're pulling your kidney energy. The kidneys contribute a lot to the creation of semen, right? It's your kidney energy. And in Chinese medicine, right, this is the theory. And so constantly ejaculating, you're tapping into your kidney energy. And so that can manifest as low back pain and weak knees, weak back. Do I fear death? No, I had an experience in, I think it was like 6 years ago. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I was drowning, right? I very nearly died. So I was swimming in the ocean. I was swimming in this very sketchy spot. It was like right on these rocky cliffs. I was with a friend. He's like, yeah, it's a great place to swim. So I'm swimming here, and this current, this like wave and this current starts pulling me out, and I'm like getting slammed into rocks from the waves. And it's like, the water's super choppy. It's like pulling me under, and I was like inhaling water. It's pretty much, I was drowning. All right. And I was like, oh shit, like this is it. Like I'm dying. And like everything was kind of fading, but there was this deep like peacefulness, this deep like serenity. I'm like, oh, I'm dying. Like this isn't so bad. And but then this guy jumped in and pulled me out, and so I didn't die, right? But I came very close to death, and it was like, oh, it's really not a big deal to die, So since then, it just hasn't, been something that worries me, because again, we're all going to die, so you might as well come to terms with that and accept that, so that you're not controlled by fears of death. This is really kind of the shamanic path, right, of initiation and overcoming these deep fears, because your fears you're easily controlled by your fears. Basically, you can be certain that if someone is using fear to manipulate you, if fearful information is coming at you and it's driving you to take action, you can be certain that this is a dark side agenda. The dark side always uses fear to control you. So look at what's happening in the media, right? And it's very clear who's behind a lot of the things that are happening. So, hey, what's up, Adam? Thanks for promoting the course. Adam's a sexual kung fu rock star. He's crushing the work. He went through the course and loving the work. He went far with it. Do you think we will get superpowers like Doctor Strange from semen retention at some point? I don't think the semen retention alone is enough to like give you sudden energetic powers. It will improve your energy levels and things like that, but ultimately you have to train yourself. This is why I do semen retention in conjunction with internal energy training, qigong, tai chi, meditation. That's how you become a Jedi. Is you have to train the internal energy arts. Do I believe in telepathy, like brain electric signals? Yes, I believe in telepathy. It's very real. I know many psychics who, well, I guess telepathy is communication, right? It's, yes, I believe in telepathy. We let's just say that we've forgotten our true nature. we've forgotten our true abilities, and we're just barely coming back online to understand. If you understood just how powerful you are, and let all of these deep abilities within you that are atrophied come back into power, then you would no longer be a slave. You know what I mean? You would, and that's, I think, the biggest fear of a lot of the people in power, why they're dumping chemicals on us, they're poisoning our food, our water, our air, trying to put 5G into place, is because we are waking up as a people. We're coming into remember who we are, the ancient ways of living in unity, living in harmony, and stepping into our true power. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump off now. Thanks everyone for joining. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will be here again next week, same time. So take it easy, my friends.